Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial. Today's tutorial, I'm going to talk about Spring Annotations. So Spring uses annotations to identify objects automatically, which is used in different layers in application. So we know that in a web application, we have different layers, and the layers can be the UI layer, the the service layer and the data layer. So each of the layers use different kind of objects, and with the annotation we tell that what kind of object it is, and each of the annotations will do some specific jobs. So now let's look into different kind of annotations we have in Spring, and this list is a quite big list, but we are going to use, or we're going to talk about some of the more useful annotations that we are going to have in our application. So the first one is the configuration, and we have to put always a @ sign in front of the annotation. So here the annotation is @configuration, and it is a class level annotation that defines a Spring configuration class, same as XML configuration. So remember that the annotations can be of the class level, the method level, or the property level. So the configuration annotation is at the class level. That means when we are declaring a class, we have to, or we can put this configuration annotation. And this configuration annotation is equivalent to XML configuration. That means if we want to have a application which is not having any XML configuration, we have to use this in our Java class. Then the next one is enable web MVC. So this enables Spring MVC in absence of a XML configuration. Okay, so this is going to be telling that this particular class is enabling the MVC characteristic of the web application. The next one is called the component scan, and this is one of the important annotation that we are going to have, and it allows Spring to know the packages to scan for annotate components. So in a web application, we are going to define that where to look for the Spring object. So if I'm going to bring up my application over here, so this is the one that we're going to have, J106, and then I'm expanding it, and under Java resources we are going to the main, and over there if I expand it, we can see that it is the folder we have config, and this package can be of any type, like you can define it by any ways. I have just did like this way, like com study8 j106 and config. So under that config directory I have these classes. So now if I'm going to have this class web config.java, and you can see that over here I have this configuration annotation, and I have this enable web MVC configuration, and then I have this component scan annotation, and it is telling that we have the controller components within this package. So com study8 j106 controller. So if we look over here, this is the package that we are referring to, and here we have all the controllers. So again, the component scan is telling that where to look for the Spring components within a package. Okay, and this specific class is doing what is telling all about the configuration thing. Okay, so now let's move on. Then we have an annotation is the component annotation, marks a Java class as a bin for component scan, and then we have a controller annotation, a class level annotation to mark a Java class as a controller, and we all know that what a controller is. So if we are going to have a look into the controller, so we can see that this is a controller class, and we are using the annotation controller in front of the login controller. Okay, and we are saying that this is a controller. And then we have annotation, that is service. Annotation used in the service layer to hold business logic. So if we go over here again, so this is my controller layer, and then we have the service layer. And then we have the, so you can see that we have the login service, and I am looking for the login service IMPL. So it's over here, and I have defined this as a service. Okay, so it's basically sitting in the middle tier where I am putting the business logic. Now that's the component of that's the service annotation. Then we can have a repository annotation, and by the word repository you can understand that it talks about the database thing. So annotation used at persistent layer, which acts as a database repository. So again, if we go and look into the code, we are seeing over here DAO IMPL, and then let's say this is one of the implementation for connecting to the database, and here I have put the repository. Okay, so again, the repository annotation is used in the persistence layer. Okay, and then we have one is called the auto wired annotation, and this can be leveled, or this can be on the fields, setter methods, and constructor level annotation to inject DI. So now if I bring up my notepad over here, and we can see that we're going to have our architecture like this. This is the controller, then we have the service, and then we have the repository. Okay, so that means this is kind of like, you can say, UI layer, and then this is the middle, and this is the backend. Okay, so now over here we are using this annotation. Over here we are using the service annotation, and over here we are using the repository annotation. Okay, this one is having the class name is login. Let me check again. This is going to be the login controller. Then this one is going to be the login service. And let's go over here. Login service IMPL. So this is going to be my login service, and implementation is login service IMPL. Okay, and I'm using the annotation over here, and then this one is going to be the data layer, and for the data layer I am going to use the, let's go see the DAO, and over here I have one user DAO and then user DAO IMPL. Okay, so this one is going to be user DAO and then user DAO IMPL. Okay, and then the repository will be linked over here. So again, this is my architecture. I'm invoking, or I'm calling the login controller with the annotation this controller, and then this is coming to the service layer with service annotation over here, and then it's coming to the repository or the data layer with the repository annotation used in the user DO IMPL. And then it's going to the database, and over here this is the browser calling over here. Okay, so that's the flow, and that we can see that different components and different annotations. And remember that whenever we are going to use the XML less configuration, we have to use this annotation configuration, and then we have to use another one. This is the enable web MVC. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.